Hello. All right, so I'm setting things up on TikTok right now, so just give me a second. I also I need a sip of my tea. I have a tickle in my throat. I was trying to figure out how to set it up. I sat it at what my live is about is wrong. Okay, I think what I'm going to do. Hi, I'm going to end my live and I'm going to start it over again. And then dismiss. We're going to go back. We're going to go back here. We're going to go live. And here we're going to edit what we wanted to edit, but we didn't. I'm sorry, guys. I wish my iPad remembered as well as my phone does. Yeah, we'll leave it at that then. Sure. All right. We're set on up now. Done. Now we'll go live. All right. We just had a little bit of we had a tiny false start. I started up and then I realized, oh, it has the wrong title. It was the title for Tuesday's live. All right, let's send this out. Sure. Okay. All right. Now I just did my sharing. I'm all set up on TikTok. My phone's going to work right now. It absolutely is. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's what delayed my live was that I couldn't.
Oh, and look at that.
No. Hi. We're going to go live on. Yep, I'm on the right channel. Perfect. Sorry, guys. I try to go live on both my channels. I have actually 3 channels, but I try to go live on both of them every day that I go live. The 2 of them. Ooh, come back. Okay. Phew. I thought my phone's really acting up right now. So just bear with me. I'm setting up my other live. My phone refused to work. I tried repeatedly to get it to. I even threw it in the freezer in case it was overheating. And it wouldn't work. And so I was late. Hi, Crystal. How are you? So that's why I was late, because my phone wasn't working and I was trying to give it as much time as I could. And I typically give till 2 o'clock. And if I can't get it working by 2, I start. So I did. And then all of a sudden my phone I could tell my phone was working again. So I actually can go live on my other channel. So just give me a second to set that up. I appreciate you. How is everything? How are you doing? I have some exciting, I created something. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about it. I wish Carol was here because I would get her to comment on it because I showed her it. But it's incredible. I'm so excited for it. And we have Christic Astrology coming March 20th. I'm really excited about that. It's a certification program. It's all mine, Christic Astrology. And I'll have to check and see if that name's in use anywhere to be, but nonetheless, I am creating a Christic Astrology course. There will be 3 levels of it. The first level begins on March 20th. And there's a special introductory founders rate. Oh, wait, I got to get this one going live. I didn't finish. Oh, I got talking too soon. There. Well, at least my phone will be quicker. Done. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh, cool. I'm just going to share it out on this particular live. Because sharing is caring, right? And I always say I never make anybody do anything that I wouldn't do. So if I ask you to share, then I have to share, right? I have to lead by example. That's my whole life has been, I will go through it and do it and figure it out. And then I'll hand you the instructions if you want. Everything that I've done, I've been a tutor or a guide or like always guiding somebody else, which is really cool. Cool. I have so much to talk about. I'm going to talk about it again. Hello. Say hi, stick around. I'm going to talk about a few different things. And I really don't want you, if you saw the title of the live, don't be put off by that because I'm going to explain it. If it's different language than you're used to. Okay, I'm almost done. Last round of shares, and then we will be in full attention mode between all the different channels that I have going. But hello. Okay. Hello. I see you over here now, which is perfect. Okay. Oh my God, I have so many things to talk about. TT. If you see me doing that, it's a thing that I do on TikTok when somebody sends me a heart me. And that was from back in those trauma days and, all those things that we used to have. We had all those double T's. It is. So I'm on both my Anshara'El TikTok channel, Sharia and Lorian TikTok channel, my Facebook page, and both of those YouTube channels that mirror the TikTok. So I'm on 5 channels right now, just so you know that I will be sharing my attention between 3 spaces. Okay. Exciting announcements. Number 1 is the Christic Astrology course. I'm making it a certification course. So if you're interested in learning how to work with the living sky and apply that to your life, definitely check out that course. I'm putting more information up on it. There will be 3 levels of certification that you can go through to the point where you could then, teach Christic Astrology. Maybe. We'll see if that's the 3rd level, possibly. But you'll at least be at a master level, and that will have a lot more depth to that level. But right now we're looking at level 1. And level 1 is perfect for anybody who isn't certain about what Christic Astrology is. And I'll explain that. And on Tuesdays, that's what I do, is a weekly look ahead or a celestial outlook, the weekly alignment check. I do that using true sidereal. And that is what the living sky is. It's just looking, if you looked outside right now at where the sun is in the sky, it would be in the constellation of Aquarius. It is Aquarius season. But traditional astrology does not, or tropical, seasonal, it does not look at it through that view. It has frozen the stars and the sky, the planets. It froze that 2,000 years ago. So every single March 20th or 21st in there or about Aries season, whether the sun is in Aries or not. And this is, you're just following that pattern. I'm somebody who wants to find the truth. I seek it in everything. I read Gnostic text, hidden texts. I read, it was funny because a friend of mine mentioned about, just how they were interacting with AI versus, and I'm like, I use AI to learn. Like, I ask for like physics. I ask for mathematics. I ask for esoteric. I ask for like information to learn. And then I build content and education and stuff like that from what I've learned, which is where Christic astrology was kind of birthed from. It came from true sidereal, so working with the living sky, because I believe we should be working with it how it actually is. I don't understand why I would do a new moon ceremony based on the sky that was frozen 2,000 years ago. I don't understand why I would look at my horoscope and only be concerned with a sun sign, and a sun sign where the sun wasn't even when I was born. When I was born, the sun was in Ophiuchus, which is not even something that people in most astrology, it isn't even considered. So that's the other thing that I do within Christic astrology, is I bring back that 13th sign. So I have all these readings that I'll do for people on Christic astrology, which is just looking at your true sidereal natal chart and applying it the way that we're meant to look at astrology. We're not meant to look at it as a personality thing, right? It's not about your ego or your identity. It's how your current incarnation is meant to move through this incarnation. I was trying to think of a way to the way it was getting stuck. So it's just, when everything is going through cycles, and those cycles go through different energies. The whole world does, right? We talk about how it's like the age of Aquarius, which, we're kind of getting there, but the Pluto's still in Capricorn and will be till 2040. The energy that we get in the world right now that everyone is saying is Aquarius energy is actually Capricorn energy. When you look at the true energy of Capricorn, that's Big Daddy energy, and Big Daddy stands, and when it's healthy dad, this is not toxic masculinity or any of that. This is structure, discipline, devotion. This is integrity. Capricorn is born after the rebirth, after truth of direction gets set. Then Capricorn takes over. But in mainstream astrology or tropical astrology, they give Capricorn a cold, callous, detached, arrogant. There's a lot of energies that it puts into Capricorn. But when you're looking at the healthy manifestation of Capricorn, he shows up in integrity. And that's what we're asking from the structures around us right now. That's why everything's crumbling, is because Capricorn is saying, I don't think that's true. Like that foundation, it's not long-term. That's not something that we should be building our future on. That's what Capricorn energy is saying. So it's looking at government, religion, all of those things. And it's saying, are these structures for the next generation? Because if not, we got to tear them down. And then Aquarius comes into the equation in about 2040, according to the living sky. Okay, so for those of you following tropical astrology, this is going to sound wrong. And it's just the same way when somebody says it's a new moon in whatever. If I'm looking at the sky and it's new moon in Aries and they're saying it's a new moon in Taurus, I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. It's actually in Aries right now. So, you know, we're just utilizing different things. I want to use the truth. I want to work with the sky, just like I want to work with Mother Gaia, just like I want to work with you, right? It's about what's alive, what's present. It's not about the sky frozen 2,000 years ago. Hello, Snea, how are you? And hi, Indigenous Healer. Look at this. It's been a while, girls. So Christic astrology is based on the living sky, and I went through and I really peeled back the distortions that have been built into the rest of the signs. And I came up with this beautiful education program. And like I said, level 1 starts March 20th. So if you're interested in that, you know, check out my website or stay tuned, because I'll talk about it throughout the next lives that I'm having. And there'll be content on it as well, so that you can, you know, be reminded. But the really cool thing that I had to unveil right now, I shared it with a friend yesterday, and I shared it with a couple of friends yesterday, actually. And because of all the education that I've been building to teach this Christic astrology, I've been able to understand the triggers that each one of the signs has and how that shows up in the different spaces. So, for instance, I'm going to use mine as an example. Just give me 1 second to find it, please, and thank you. Because I had a couple open. Nope, not that one. This one. Yes. Okay, just got to scroll it up just a little bit. So I have all these readings, right? So if you give me your birth information, I have to have minimum your date and location. Okay, I need those two. If you don't know your time, you can't have things like your rising sign or houses, because they're more time dependent. The rising sign changes anywhere from just under 2 hours to somewhere around 3 hours. It's transiting through. So if you don't know your time of birth, it would be really hard to pinpoint that. I can give you a sheet of what the rising sign, like how the rising signs show up. And you can look at that information with like a friend or family, so that they can, you know, maybe help you to determine which one you are. And if it comes between a couple, then, you know, I can look at that as well, right? If you want to go into that depth. So what I've been able to create on top of doing those, and these are going to be add-ons that you'll be able to do or standalone as well. But I've got according to your natal chart, your nervous system map and regulation toolkit. So I took all my experience in trauma and shadow work and emotional regulation and nervous system, and I applied it to to astrology. And I have done several charts now using this, and it is very accurate. I'm so excited to be able to do that. And because of all the trauma work that I have, you know, like all the experience I have in that area, I've been able to pair that with a 30-day toolkit to help you work through those nervous system triggers, one per week, or, like around that. I give you somatic exercises and everything. So I did one using my chart, which then allowed me to evaluate it and go, is this like, am I really catching what I'm trying to capture? And I did, because I have Aries rising, which means I'm very fast acting, right? I wake up ready. It's just the way that it is. I have a 7th house stellium. So what that gives me is a lot of relationship intensity. I have moon in Leo in the 4th house. A moon in Leo in the 4th house means that you have a lot of deep emotional pride in the core, right? So you can get very triggered in that. So I look at all of your placements and there's just certain things that show up that cause triggers. And then I look at, so your core triggers by placement. So for mine, that Aries ascending, it is autonomy and speed trigger. I get triggered when I get slowed down. And some of us might identify with this and we think, oh, maybe that's because I have ADHD. No, maybe it's because that's a part of your energetic makeup, right? And so being slowed down or feeling controlled, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And then delayed response from others. My first, my kid's father, he took forever to make decisions. And it drove me, I was just like, okay, I made a decision like 5 seconds afterwards. Like I processed the information. I'm good. Let's do this. And he would be like 7 days later, if ever. Like it was just, but that's how different people are. So what ends up happening when I get triggered in those spaces, I get my dysregulated response, which is a sharp tone, impatience, or I take over. And that's true in my dysregulated state. So how does that show up for me somatically? Because if you get this particular reading, you would see this in your chart as well as what the somatic signature is. So how does it show up? Heat in the face, fast speech, and that forward leaning position. So what is the regulation key for that? Well, one, I have to do that slow exhale breathing, right? Bring it back down, right? You want to put that brake on. I want to take a deliberate pause before I respond to something because I'm in that fast. I probably might say something I don't want to, I could do, and I need to do some physical discharge. Like it would be good if I just bounced for a minute, did the little shake, right? That would be great in those moments to just discharge that energy. Go do some jumping jacks, go in the bathroom for a minute. If you got a big enough bathroom, I guess. So then you take those things, and I also within the reading tell you what your dominant stress modes are, and I give you a custom regulation toolkit. I tell you how you show up when you are regulated and how you show up when you're dysregulated. And I give you a core healing statement. So this is this nervous system thing that I created. Sorry. I was thinking about the next thing. It's the nervous system trigger map and regulation toolkit is what that is. And then I have also a 30-day nervous system integration plan that I created as well. So I'm so excited about those things. But yes, today we talk about Christ consciousness. That's what we talk about. And that can be intimidating for some because they might hear that and be like, I'm not religious, or, have some kind of misunderstanding about what it means. So most times, like I said, when someone hears Christ consciousness, they immediately associate it with either religion or mythology or spiritual hierarchy. But historically, the teaching referred to a way of living, and it was a demonstration of integrity, clarity, compassion, and responsibility within the world. Living the way is not about claiming spiritual identity. It is about how someone behaves when they are challenged, when they are criticized, when they are misunderstood or under pressure. The question is not, do I believe the teaching? It's, does my life demonstrate it? Right? Because it doesn't matter if you agree with the knowledge or if you acquire the information. It doesn't become lived, or it doesn't become true until you live it. Your life has to demonstrate it. So this one's a really good segment because I want to talk about integrity before influence, right? One of the most misunderstood aspects of spiritual development is the order of growth. Influence is often pursued before integrity is stabilized. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing a lot of these spiritual teachers that we had a lot of people idolizing show their true colors, and they're crumbling. And that's because they became influential before they stabilized their integrity, right? So teachings has always shown the opposite sequence, that first you need to stabilize your inner world, then you demonstrate consistency, then influence emerges naturally. Why? Because you're just a beacon of truth. You're walking and talking, and everything is in alignment. And people pick that up in your field. Without integrity, influence becomes manipulation. And that's what Deepak was doing. That's what all of these people in these influential positions were doing. They're manipulating you because they're not standing on their word. They're not living as they are instructing you to live, right? And so integrity means that your words are matching your actions. Your values remain stable under stress, right? Like if you have the value that you wouldn't name call, then that means that under stress, you still don't name call, right? That's integrity, right? I knew you do not require agreement from others to remain centered. And many of us are in that seeking. We're seeking something from somebody else to validate us. And even I was doing that recently. My validation is in, the numbers, right? Like when you're on social media, you have a company and, you have these metrics, all of these metrics. So if the metrics are off, that can be a great indicator of changes that you need to make, but that shouldn't change your value because you're not getting your validation from the metrics. You know what you're doing is right. You know it's aligned with you. You know you're putting out, like whatever it is. Maybe the message wasn't quite right and it didn't land for people. Maybe the people who are meant to hear the message haven't shown up yet. You need to, just be continuing to promote, right? Like there's lots of little things that could be tweaked that, could change things. Maybe you're putting too much out. Maybe people are just a little overwhelmed with all the new that you're doing. There's lots of little tiny things. It doesn't have to be that the whole thing needs to get thrown away. But at the end of the day, you're not getting your value or you're determining your worth through those metrics. You're using those metrics to refine things. And that's, that's the use of the metrics. So a practical example of this, when someone disagrees with you, do you react defensively or do you remain steady enough to listen? That was not sitting on my heater, so it was just sitting there getting cold. Right? Okay. The answer to that question, though, reveals whether integrity or identity is leading at that moment. And it's a scale, right? You're working to be in integrity all the time, but in the beginning or through the stages, people aren't perfect. There are moments. Right? So at that moment, though, that's what's leading. If you're defensive because someone disagrees with you, that's your identity. Your identity is being challenged, or your pride, right? Oh, you're hurting my pride, or there's, All right. We've got Saturn in Pisces right now, and Saturn in Pisces is asking for spiritual responsibility. Okay. Saturn's movement through Pisces introduces an important developmental stage for many people exploring spirituality. Pisces governs imagination, compassion, intuition, and the unseen emotional currents that shape our human experiences. When Saturn enters this space, those qualities must become grounded and responsible. Saturn in Pisces is asking for spiritual responsibility, emotional, like those deep emotional responsibility. So this means compassion with boundaries. This also means intuition balanced with discernment. And it also brings about spiritual insight expressed through real behavior. Saturn in Pisces is asking for us to stand on our word, to be in integrity. Saturn's the planet that governs Capricorn. And Capricorn, like I said, is big daddy energy. Like it's a lot of that divine masculine energy, because he's structured, devoted, disciplined. He's, sorry, getting a spam call. Stop that. So Saturn, about responsibility and marrying that in the spiritual realm, is going to ask you to be, it's not just about, I asked a friend one time, and you can ask yourself this, well, what do you, if somebody said I'm Buddhist, what are you doing that's aligning with that, right? If you're, what are you doing, the things that's aligned with what you're saying, right? And and spiritually, it's going to be asking you that. So Saturn in Pisces does not ask you to abandon spirituality. It asks you to mature within it. So the measure becomes simple. Does your practice make you more stable, or more compassionate, or more responsible toward others? And preferably all three, right? If your practice is dysregulating you, if you're, be free to change your practice up so that it is working in alignment with you. Now we have Aquarius season, and Aquarius is that influence of collective leadership. And it's not just that we have the sun in Aquarius. We also have Venus in Aquarius. And those two together, the focus is naturally shifted towards community and collective development. Aquarius energy asks a very practical question. How do we build structures that support many people rather than elevating just a few individuals, right? Capricorn might be thinking about the few individuals. Capricorn's thinking about their legacy. Aquarius comes in to think about the humanity. They're the humanitarian. So healthy Aquarius leadership looks like sharing knowledge openly, building systems that empower others, and encouraging collaboration rather than hierarchy. The distortion appears when people try to lead through identity or status and status, right? Rather than contribution, right? We're supposed to be contributing to society in a positive way in some format. And believe it or not, that returns back to you, right? I have hugs for homeless. And that's something that was a long time in the making. I do have the ability to accept volunteers now on the Hugs for Homeless website. So do check that out. And you can join Hugs for $1 a month, become part of the compassion crew, and know that for $12 a year, you're helping somebody who is homeless receive necessities. You can also, if $1 a month seems really so small, why not $12 a month? So for $144 a year, there's the Warmth Warriors, and you get the free newsletter, and you get part of the Warmth Warriors crew. And you also, there'll be other things that we'll be putting in that particular group going forward to enhance it, like early access to certain things, and some draws and stuff like that. So giving back to society is an inherent part of walking the pathway, or of living in Christ consciousness. And also for our spiritual leadership, our integrity, right? When we're doing our duty, right, and sharing and contributing to others. So leadership within this energy field emerges through service and clarity rather than personal branding. So the discipline of living the teaching, right? Because a lot of us go and get education, and we go and learn all these things, and maybe we take a spiritual course here, or we take, a nutrition course, or we take whatever, right? We take all these little classes, but are you actually utilizing the information that you took, right? So living the way requires discipline that is often quieter than what people expect. Living the way shows up through those small, consistent choices that we make. Speaking honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. I've been there. Correcting mistakes without defensiveness. I learned this recently. I did this recently. I talked about how I did that. Something happened, and I did not appreciate the way that a friend had behaved. And I got a little angry at the end because I was hurt. I allowed my hurt to spill out into a little bit of an aggressive tone. And that might not seem like a big deal. And, but that's something to note. I was responding a little more than I wanted to respond, right? So that's me learning to say, correct something without being defensive about it. The other part of living the way, where it shows up in a very small way, is just refusing to participate in manipulation or unnecessary conflict. You're not enhancing that toxicity in the world. You're choosing to pull yourself out of that, right? And many of us have woken up to that, and we're very aware of what's going on and the crazy clown inverted world that we live in. And, some of you are just dipping your toes into that. Maybe some of you have heard about the Epstein files. I actually found out the other day, there's people that haven't even heard about that. They don't even know about it. And I was just like, wow. I thought, people would know about Epstein at least. But it just depends on what you're giving yourself access to, what's in your real world view. So, but refusing to participate in that manipulation or creating unnecessary conflict is a huge part of it. They seem ordinary, these practices, but they create extraordinary stability over time. right? Every time you speak honestly, every time you correct something without that defensiveness, and every time you refuse to participate in manipulation and unnecessary conflict, you are creating extraordinary stability in your life. Spiritual maturity rarely arrives through dramatic experiences. It develops through thousands of steady decisions that align behavior with truth. Deepak didn't do that. He didn't have thousands of experiences of these steady decisions where he was aligning his behavior with truth. He was wearing a mask. He was pretending. He got so, like, all those ones that rose to such influential heights. I remember hearing about Teal and how, according to reports, she's not a nice person. And I wasn't surprised by it, because a lot of people, when they get up, like, the fame goes to their head, the influence, and that's why you have to be stable. You have to be firm and in your spiritual maturity before you rise naturally to be influential to other people. But these people were given that influence way, way, way too soon. And now we're seeing the results of that. It develops through thousands of steady decisions that align behavior with truth. It's an important note to keep in mind. All right. I'm inviting you to this little reflection. Please tap on the screen if you're watching. I appreciate you, but your likes and comments, they help me, right? So I want to invite you to reflect on a question, okay? And the question is, where in my life is the next opportunity to demonstrate integrity rather than simply talk about it? So where can you align your words and your actions, right? Where's the next opportunity that you have that you can do that? Maybe you have a conversation coming up and you are hesitant to speak the truth. The truth can be delivered with compassion. A lot of times what happens though is because we haven't got the nervous system capacity to handle it. We don't have the emotional regulation or maturity. Many of us require an antagonist for us to be able to speak our truth, because we need to get ourselves into an engaged nervous system state so that we can say something, which is unfortunate. Because the truth is delivered so much better if you say it from a calm space. Absolutely. Hi, Amber. So I want you to identify one situation during the coming week where you can practice steadiness, patience, or honesty more intentionally. Okay, that's your task for this week. That's integrity. Okay. So walking the path, right? And I say the Christic path. The Christic is not anything to do with Christianity or any other religion. It is actually outside of religion, outside of dogma, outside of government, outside of manipulation, all of that stuff. It's beyond all of that stuff. Okay, so just to keep clear on that part. So when we're talking about walking the path, we're not talking about anything. This is not religion. This is living an aligned life. This is living and embodied. This is standing in integrity, okay? So the most powerful demonstrations of spiritual maturity are rarely loud. It's not the Kundalini awakening that the person had, although that's what we end up. Many people get pulled in by that. Oh my God, I've got to go follow this person and I'm going to learn from them because they had this Kundalini awakening. But that's not the power of spirituality. And that's not necessarily maturity. It doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. Deepak could talk about these wonderful experiences that he had, but he clearly had no spiritual maturity because he was a fraud. So The most powerful demonstrations appear in calm responses during conflict, impatience when outcomes are uncertain. That was a tough one. That was probably one of the ones I had to work with the most. My Aries rising did not help me in that space. But just being patient and in the willingness to keep learning rather than claiming authority. There is a truth of a truth, but when you think about the vast amount of knowledge that's out there in all different areas, you're always learning. And there are levels to it, right? When we think about in traditional, like outside of matrix, outside of the way that we should be living is through our vibration, right? Our resonance. When I am in a level of knowledge and awareness, I am open to new levels, right? And the more that you learn, the next level opens up. It's the way that it goes, right? It's kind of like you don't give the nuclear codes to the toddler, right? Like there's reasons why we don't hand over significant decision-making things to a child, because, if you showed a child, $1 billion and you showed a child, a year's supply of ice cream, anytime they want, they can go to the ice cream store and they can have as much ice cream as they want. There's no limit. The child's going to pick the ice cream, limitless ice cream for the whole year over $1 billion, more likely, right? So we know that children aren't capable of making those decisions. That's why it's about frequency, vibration. It's about you being at the level to handle the next part. It's not about somebody being, try to figure out a way to put that in a way. You may at the level that you're at believe in that being the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But as you continue to learn, you may explore certain areas and go, okay, so that wasn't 100% really strong truth, but it was not the truth of the truth, right? And that's what we should all be seeking, is the truth of the truth of the truth, and living it. So when you find out that your energy, and you learn about sound and frequency and vibration, are you toning, right? If you are, developing your spirituality, are you doing meditating? Is there mindfulness practices? What's your breath work like, right? All of these are parts of that. How are you living the truth of who you say you are, or who you know yourself to be? So that's that part of it. And living the way is not about perfection. Okay. It's about consistency. I just said, like I did the whole defensive, and someone made a mistake, and I got a little bit in my hurt. And that's obviously not the way that I would want to, but I did. And so it was an opportunity to learn. So knowing that it's not about perfection. When integrity stabilizes, leadership becomes natural rather than forced. And over time, that quiet consistency becomes the foundation of real trust. So, what we learned from the spiritual gurus that all rose to fame really, really fast, right? We learned that they didn't Hi, sorry. Hi. I want to read this comment. I'm trying to. Oh, I can give you a couple of tips for that, Tara. But do make sure that you're following me. So one of the things during conflict, this can be really helpful. Two things. There's so many. There's a few things. Anyway, I demonstrated this not that long ago, and it's the somatic hug, and I do a variation of it. And you can modify it yourself, because why not? It's for you. So when you do the somatic hug, you take your right hand, which this is my right hand, and you cross it to the left side. So you're really cupping it by your heart, right? Then you take your right hand and you bring it across to the left. Sorry, you bring your left hand and you put it across to your right shoulder. And you just apply firm pressure inward. That's a somatic hug. Now you can add, so if you're having to say something, you could ground yourself into your body. This is a framing technique as well. It's from somatic experiencing. I like to add this hand doing a downward rub on the outside of my arm. And the reason why, this comes from the havening technique, which you would just cross your arms and you would rub them down each shoulder. This drops your brain into delta waves, which is a very soothing brainwave state. So you can do that to drop yourself into a very soothed state. So by combining them with the firm pressure with your left hand on the heart field, giving yourself that hug, and then the left hand rubbing down the right arm to help to soothe and bring you into that state of brainwave, the delta wave. Okay, so you can just rub down the outside. Now, even just placing your hand on your heart to ground into your body and to connect, right? So putting it over the heart chakra in the center of your body, left hand. Okay, and then you can just breathe into that spot. It gives you a focal spot to breathe. When you get to the point of, really breathing in and out through your heart field, right? This is heart-focused breathing, is when we're breathing in and out through the heart field and we're slowing and deepening our breath. When you're doing that, you can take your hand away and breathe in and out through the heart field. No one will know you're doing it, but it'll keep you grounded. It'll keep your nervous system lower. Just it'll keep it regulated instead of allowing it the opportunity to get dysregulated. You can do that prior to a conversation. I talk about how it's like your elevator. Your nervous system's like an elevator. And for those of us who had traumatic childhood, or even a real good episode of PTSD as an adult, your nervous system could be up high, right? Depending. So if your nervous system's sitting up here, it doesn't take a lot of external stimuli or negativity coming at you before you're blowing your top, right? And when we blow our top, that's our trauma response. And whatever the trigger is, it'll go back to the earliest incident of that experience in our life where we've been traumatized in the same manner. So if we were 3 years old, we're going to now be responding like a 3-year-old. So however we felt when we were 3. So maybe when you were 3, it was overwhelming for your nervous system. And so that's a method where we're trying to shake it out of our body, right? So another thing that you can do is shaking. Shaking your hands up your arms, shake your whole body, down your legs, and get your whole self just shaking, right? When you see two dogs, if they get into an interaction, one of the things that they will do after that, you'll see the dog and he'll go, and he'll just shake it down and just kick it off of him. That's what they're doing. They're discharging the energy that's in their body that they don't like, and out their body doing that shake off. So that's a really good way, a good way to help with that energy that's in the body. You should have you looked at your true sidereal? Have you ever looked at your true sidereal? I do astrology using true sidereal, working with the living sky, and I actually am releasing a new education program to teach people what I do, which is Christic astrology. So it's based on the living sky and without distortion. And I incorporate trauma, shadow work, nervous system triggers, and all of that into it as well. So what the regulated or dysregulated, or how it shows up in those different ways. And I do readings in that way. So if you wanted to see, I do synastry readings, so the compatibility, and not the way that mainstream astrology does. It's KRYSTIC astrology. There's a bunch of stuff that's on my Facebook, and there'll be more as well. And you can always, I'm getting, getting everything together. It starts March 20th, but all the readings are there. So you can go and check out the readings. I just am in the process of releasing 2 additions that you can add to a reading, or they'll be standalone as well. But it just looks at your chart through the nervous system trigger, and it gives you a regulation toolkit. That's the one. And then the other one, yep, perfect. And the other one does a 30-day, it gives you a 30-day nervous system integration map. So those are the 2 readings that I'm going to offer. Like the 30-day integration is an add-alone only, but the other nervous system triggers and regulation toolkit, that one could be standalone or add-on, depending. So they're all available under readings and things like that at the website. The Christic astrology stuff is being placed on the website right now, so just stay tuned for that if you're looking interested in learning more about that. What else do I have? Oh, I have a return to center course, which would be really good for your nervous system, for anyone that's looking for that, not just Tara. Oh, sure. I'm trying to unpin the. I'm playing with StreamYard now. I'm like, all right, that didn't help me. That didn't help me. So this thing that I created, it is called Return to Center. It's a 10-day self-paced course. And it's not a trauma course. It's not shadow work. It's not identity, anything like that. It is merely, I found it. It gave me it. It is 10 sessions. Each session is less than 25 minutes in length. You watch a recording. In that recording, I do a little bit of talking, and then I guide you through a practice. I also, with this, you get an entire guide that also has more practices and integration things and affirmations, journal prompts, stuff like that. So it's just a further, it's a lot of bonuses that you get in the guide. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's only on sale until Sunday for $55 Canadian. And it's a beautiful, beautiful course. It has things like somatic practices in it, some little bit of breath work practices in it, like really embodiment practices for all the stuff that I talk about. It talks about like energy clearing or like cleansing your energy, and keeping in mind that we should be cleansing our energy like we wash our hands, especially if we're out in public and we're around a lot of people. We should come home and wash our hands and clear our energy field. So it has like simple practices like that, and you probably get close to 20 practices between what is available in the course and what's available in the guide. You know, at least 18, I would think. So that's available. Like I said, it's on sale. Then on March 1st, it goes back to regular price, which is $88. So do check that out. Yeah. How are you doing, Amber? Nice to see you. Yeah, that has to go on the heater because it's getting cold. Yeah. How are you doing, Amber? Okay. We're quiet today, and that's okay. All righty. Well, that's pretty much the information that I was covering today, talking a little bit about Christ consciousness and explaining what that means. That it's just really living with integrity, and spiritual integrity is really highlighted at this time, given, you know, we're seeing that coming out with Deepak as an example. So this is what that Saturn and Pisces is asking us to stand on our word, to have integrity spiritually. And what else do we got? We got that Capricorn energy, that beautiful Capricorn energy, and Pluto. That's what's structurally asking us to identify the structures that have the stability for the future, the ones that we want to keep. And that's why we're seeing all of these structures being torn down. That's Capricorn standing in integrity and saying, you know, like these things are not, they're not in integrity, right? These things are, there's manipulation or lies or distortions that are built into that. So definitely check that out. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm thinking about switching it, and we might do Sundays and Wednesday live. I'm going to look at that. I kind of like the idea of doing that, setting you up for your week. And it's mostly because when you start to live in alignment with the energy, you want to be living in alignment, not just with, you know, having your energy in alignment, but you want to work in alignment with the sky and as it's living, which, you know, and you want to live in alignment with Mother Gaia. You want to live in alignment with all. So in living with that alignment, Sunday energetically is a day where I should be doing teaching or having something public facing. Monday is the day for rest. We got it all wrong. Monday's the emotional day. Monday's the day to be quiet and reflect and, you know, just have a nice day. The energy from Tuesday is not bad. Tuesday is definitely, it's governed by Saturn. Let me think. Who's that? Might have been just a big bird that blocked out the light for a second there. It's just utilizing the proper energy. Wednesday is governed under Mercury, which is a great day for teaching. You know, Mercury is a wonderful energy to teach under. So I might switch it to Sunday for the weekly check-in, and then we will do Wednesday as the Christ consciousness. Don't get worried about the word. Remember, that's just meaning living in integrity, right? Living how we're supposed to live. We know that's not how we're living. We are not meant to have to pay for our existence. Nobody should die because they didn't make enough money, like in an illusory system, because money's an illusion, right? You put your money in the bank and the bank lends out your money to make more money and charges you interest on everything, which they're not supposed to. Right? So we're living in an inverted clown world. We see that with the files that have been out recently. Many of us who are aware or, you know, on the spectrum, or, you know, some of us with those pattern recognition skills, we've known this for a long time, and you guys are just finding out the tip of the iceberg. Hang on, guys. Get your nervous system in order. Do your breathing, right? Do your breathing. Do your somatic practices, work on your trauma. The more that you can do those things and deal with those, so that when if there's more chaos, if there's more, you know, crap, then at least you can keep yourself regulated. You're not losing your mind, right? Because it's what happens. Right? Our nervous system gets engaged. And next thing you know, we're blowing our top and we're fighting, or we're running, or we're freezing in place, or we're fawning over people. So as we've seen all this stuff that's coming out, it's more important than ever that people do something about their nervous system state now. Work on your trauma, release the baggage, you know, learn some soothing skills to, you know, that help you navigate your world. And so when something comes in, you know what to do to stop yourself from having that rise, and then you're out of your mind. Right. Hi, astral being. How are you? So yeah. If you need help with that, Return to Center on sale for one more week. It has a beautiful 10 sessions, 10 self-paced sessions no more than 25 minutes each. And there's a guide that has additional sessions for each of those 10 days. So you really get a lot of tools in your toolkit that help you return to center. It's not a trauma course. It's not a shadow. It's not an identity redefining. It's not that. I'm just giving you tools for your toolkit so you can return to self in the midst of all the chaos that's going on around the world. So check that out on Anshara'El.com. I'll be back on Tuesday, like I said, at 1:44 p.m., depending on my one device, which is giving me some issues right now. I'm hoping to get it fixed this weekend. There's no guarantee on that. So it may only be the Sharia and Lorian channel. So if you're following me on Anshara'El, follow me on Sharia and Lorian. And also One Truth Will Set You Free. That's my other channel as well. I'll be reestablishing that podcast and getting it up and running again shortly here. I went on a little bit of a hiatus between moving out to Alberta and starting Hugs for Homeless and, you know, finding a way to balance my energy between the two companies. And so now I've got myself to a better place. So they'll be reestablishing the Truth Will Set You Free podcast. I think I'm at episode 41 or something like that. And that's not including the hidden the Hidden Earth podcast that goes along with that or any of the other stuff that's in there. So there's a lot of content on out there from me for education purposes and spirituality, the truth. I'm a truth seeker. So if you're looking for that, go check it out. And yeah, follow me if you aren't already. Send your friends. We're all holding hands, kumbaya, right? we're all rising together. Let's do this. Let's do this. The time for action is now. If you're waiting on doing something, do it. Do it. I'll give you some of my Aries energy, and you go do it. But not a lot. I like my Aries rising. You can't have too much of it. And if you're interested in True Sidereal and learning Christic astrology, go check out Anshara'El. If you are of the mindset of helping those less fortunate than you, go check out hugsforhomeless.com and help the homeless. You can help for as little as $1 a month, or even, you know, whatever donation, one-time donation that you want to give. We are looking for volunteers. There's a whole list of volunteers that we're looking for. So some of them are available for volunteer spaces right now. Some of them will be available in the future. So if you're interested in volunteering and you're in our region, then, you know, like that would make more sense. But if you're not and you want to volunteer and you want to do something, we do have some online or, you know, some other positions that you could definitely do. So not all of the volunteer positions are in person or physical positions. What else? Yeah, I don't know. Stay tuned. Go check some stuff out. Blessings to everybody. Always. Always. I didn't do an embodiment exercise today. Well, we have to do one. We know that. We kind of did. We talked about it when someone had mentioned they needed something, but okay. I did kind of ask you bounced my table. I did ask you some good questions though. So let's reiterate on one of those questions. Okay. Let's reiterate one of those good questions. So when we're looking at integrity, right? We talked about how words must match your actions, that your values remain stable under stress, and you do not require agreement from others to remain centered. So our example there was, when someone disagrees with you, do you react defensively? Do you attack? Or do you remain steady enough to listen? Right? If somebody said you did something wrong, would you sit and listen to it? Would you hear what they had to say? Or would you attack them? Right? That's telling you where your nervous system state is, right? If you are attacking or you're defensive, or you know, like if you're responding in those ways or reacting in those ways, that's your identity. But if you're able to sit there and receive what they're saying to you, then that means that you're sitting in integrity. Okay. And that's what Christ consciousness is. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right. Join me here again on Tuesday. If I'm changing it to Sunday, I'll put up posts and you'll see that it's Sunday. But I think, oh, maybe. Ooh, I don't know. I can't confirm Tuesday. It might be Sunday and Wednesday next week. I might move it next week. I might wait until the following week after. I just need to check the energies, check the alignments and see which one makes the most sense energetically to shift the live. The reason why is because I know there's a new moon on the 3rd of March, which is after Tuesday. So new stuff after the new moon. So we could switch it the following, but it's also the end of February on Sunday. So it would be a beautiful day to do a live and talk about the energy of the next week, starting with March 1st. So I don't know. I have to work my numbers or like look at my energies and see which one works the best. But that being said, if it is Sunday, I will see you on Sunday. Otherwise, I will see you back here on Tuesday at 1:45. But I will update the channels as I make that decision. And it won't be too much longer before it'll be updated on all the channels. All right, go check out Anshara'El.com. There's lots there for if you want to learn more about yourself, you want to get true with your astrology, learn your true sidereal, or you want to get a reading on how that shows up for you in Christic astrology. Many other things that are there. There's so many things. Honestly, my first thing is to always suggest that you just go and sign up for a free clarity call and we can talk about what you're doing, what you're looking for, and then I can give you guidance into what is the right space. But do note there's the Temple of Light free membership group at Anshara'El. You should go join it so you can stay connected, plus receive all of those things that I put into that group. There's lots of bonuses and stuff that you receive there that will help you on your ascension pathway, or join the School of Light and take an education course. All right. Love you guys. I will see you guys Sunday or Tuesday, depending on which one aligns the best. Bye, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. See you on Sunday or Tuesday. I'll post. Love you.